Welcome to the Business Networking Influencers Podcast, where connections become opportunities and relationships shape success. Prepare to be inspired, informed, and empowered by the brightest minds in business networking. And now, your host, Tim Nifton.
Welcome back to the Business Networking Influencers Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by RSVP Las Vegas, and I am thrilled to be here today with a remarkable individual who has mastered the art of business networking and entrepreneurship. Joining me in the studio is Miss Kerry Fezza, and Kerry is the Director of Design at Kerry F Decor. And she has built a very impressive network, and she's achieved remarkable success. And so today we are excited to dive into her insights and to her experiences within her business. Before I begin, I would like to extend a warm thank you to our podcast sponsor, RSVP Las Vegas, for supporting this episode. Now, without further ado, let's jump into today's episode of Business Networking Influencers. Miss Kerry Fezza, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for the warm introduction.
Absolutely. So it's always fun and exciting to learn the story of another business owner, of another entrepreneur. One of the coolest things of all is that every business owner, every entrepreneur has a different journey. Every single person has a different story as to what brought them to the place that they are today. And so I would like to just take a step back into time before we kind of go into what it is that you're in detail, what it is that you're doing now. Can you tell me a little bit about kind of your origin story? What led you, first of all, to becoming an entrepreneur in general? I realize this may not be your first venture in this space. So kind of take me back to that point. What led you to decide that you wanted to be self-employed, that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And then you can kind of tell us a little bit about how you got to be the Director of Design at Kerry F Decor.
Well, I have always been a free spirit. I don't do well in confined environments. My husband's a 9-to-5 guy. He likes that routine. He likes that structure. He likes that regular paycheck. That's never been my jam. I've always been my own person. So I better off working for myself because I'm really creative. And there is that other type of person that's the creative, artistic person that's very intuitive, that just doesn't work well within the parameters that society's defined. So we look for creative expression. My background's in the psychic arts and entertainment. I am an empath too. So I'm able to read people. There's many different forms of psychic expression, clairvoyance, clairaudience. I'm a clairsentient, which means I can read people's energy. So I'm very sensitive to environments around me. And that's sort of one of the things I bring to my interior design business is that I can intuit things. My hardest part is conveying to the client what's going on in my head. Of course, we can do these through visuals and pictures, but I usually intuit my designs because that's my background. And I still do a side hustle in Vegas as a fortune teller. I work high-end parties and events. I just worked a couple last week. Or I get dressed up as a gypsy because it is entertainment, but I am a natural empath. So given that, I'm definitely not going to fit in with a conformist environment. So I like doing my own thing. Entertainment was really fun because then you're a gig worker. Every day is different. You get to work with all different kinds of creative types, and there's lots of rooms to express yourself there, from production to being in front of the camera to doing different things. I've done set design on stages for friends of mine and people I've worked with. Christy Love Brooks does a lot for the community, and I've staged several of her productions where she's been honored by Catherine Cortez Masto and the current senator in Las Vegas. So we're always happy to do that. I am an interior designer and we do offer staging, but a lot of my staging requests are for unusual things like doing stages. I did the stage last week for the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. And they were really excited. It was at Canyon Gate, and they were really excited to have their stage set up. They said it looked elevated and it gave something to the presenters. And the presenters were awesome. It was a great discourse on entrepreneurship. I'm currently taking a class through Incubate Vegas. I was chosen to be a participant, and it's on entrepreneurship. So a lot of it is a review, but a lot of it is taking me in depth and helping me to expand my company. And how we got started was really quick. During COVID, I was working as a promotions model, doing conventions, that type of thing. And of course, with COVID, that all dried up. And I've always been into interior design. I've done my own house. I've been doing this for years, furnished rentals, remodeling. So I just decided to turn it into a business at that point.
I love that. Thank you so much for also sharing the fact that, entrepreneurs, we kind of live in our own little world separate from everybody else. When you look at the studies, I think it's like 90% of people are in a 9-to-5 job. So we only represent about 10% of the workforce. And so just that in and of itself, we're already, it's a lonely world for us. We're very different. And so I really appreciate you mentioning the fact that, you didn't really fit in the box, because that's how a lot of us as entrepreneurs feel. We went through school a lot of times wondering why we don't, get along with everybody else in terms of the way that they just kind of comply. They just kind of go with the flow. And the rest of us were just kind of sitting there wondering, why this just doesn't feel right. I know for me, I certainly felt that way. And then once I started meeting entrepreneurs as an adult, I started realizing, wow, there's others that are like me out here. This is really nice, And so now it's like entrepreneurs unite. We can be weird together. We could be different together. And it's really a special thing, because we are just a different breed. It is what it is. So thank you for mentioning that. That is a really interesting story about how everything kind of came to be with your artistic nature and your outside of the box way of thinking. Now, my question for you is, Kerry, who are you serving these days? What type of clients typically work best with you for your interior design work? And specifically, how do you serve them as well?
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, obviously looking for a more upscale client who can afford interior design, because interior design is not expensive. We're a boutique agency. It's basically just me and a couple people I hire as needed. I offer hands-on service, and I have a great crew that I can call in when I need them. So it has to be someone who not only has the money to afford interior design, and I can work within a budget. We don't shy away from small projects, but we do shy away from small budgets. You don't have to have a huge budget. We're not a luxury stager or design company. We serve an upper middle class market, people that have money but have to be willing to spend it. And what we do to make it it's my job to convey my worth. And I've had people ask, why so much money? Well, it's really not a lot of money. I think I am right at my price point. I do have a lot of experience, but because my business is new, I have to factor that in. So I think I charge a very fair rate. I have different fee structures that I usually discuss during a consultation. I usually try and book it initially. When a client is interested in me and my services, I offer to do a consultation with them, which takes up to 2 hours. Okay. And the price starts at $250. You can go from $250 and above. And we do a little work on the back end with that. If the client's looking for color, we investigate their color schemes and we bring, paint samples. If they're doing decor, whatever they want, we bring what we think and we exchange ideas. We look at their house and we offer suggestions. And then we can go from there. Because we charge for the consultation, there's no high pressured sales pitch. You're already paying me for my time. I lay out what we can do for you, what my background is, what you're paying for, what my worth is, which is my diplomas, my certifications, my experience, my website, my portfolio, and our past projects. So you can choose if we're a good fit for you. Some people aren't, some people are. So that's what the consultation is. We have this exchange of ideas. And I try and bring, like I said, some more concrete items. So it's not just a meet and greet. Sometimes people have only done a consultation with me and that's all they needed. And then I can set you on your path and you can come back if you need more down the road. So we always start there. What we kind of specialize in based on my experience is remodeling, because I've done it all. Remodeling everything from whole houses to kitchens and bathrooms. And we just did a fabulous outdoor space, which was mostly decor. So whatever the person needs, we can address them, but our specialty is remodeling. As far as staging goes, we're more than bringing in just furniture into a house. We'd be interested in working with people who need a few upgrades before they sell. When you're selling your house, you're not really interested in spending money on it because you're moving out. But at the same time, there's still projects that really need to be done. And for a small investment of say $5,000 to $10,000, it could equal like 50,000 or more on the return investment, because no one wants to come in and see old light fixtures, tile countertops. You've seen those houses. They're stuck in an era.
Right.
Just a coat of paint, new lighting can be very inexpensive. We can come in and help with those upgrades. And if the price point's right and the project is properly funded, we can maybe even throw in some staging. So that's kind of our focus, and what sets us apart from other stagers is the design part of it. So we can do both.
Sure. That's fantastic. Now, what would you say is, I guess, what are some of the most common problems that your ideal prospects are facing when they are kind of making that decision to hire somebody like you?
Well, the problems are usually either one of two things. Either they have a good sense of design, they know what they want, but they do not have the time to implement it, and they need someone to go out and do the work for them. More than likely, though, it's going to be someone who needs to make a change, wants to make a change, and doesn't know where to begin. They can be a couple that's in an older home or has just purchased an older home and needs to remodel and upgrade it, but they just don't know where to start, or they need a guiding hand. And for our full service, we come in and do everything. We help you find the right contractors, the right painters, the right flooring, from the product to the install to the person who's doing the contracting and the installing. We put all that together for you and organize and manage the whole project. And I usually pride myself on bringing people in on time and under budget. The other thing we can do is sometimes people bought a new home and they want help decorating it because, again, they don't know where to begin. They have all these fabulous ideas, but what we do is break it down and organize the project. That's why you have to have a realistic budget. And I won't work with anybody that doesn't have a budget. I can work within your budget, but I need a budget to start with, and it has to be realistic. We don't typically take on projects that are under $50,000. That doesn't mean I'm getting paid $50,000, but you have to have at least that much money, and we have to see what you want to tackle within that parameters. Parameters are good. Boundaries are good. So say you had a project and you had $80,000 to spend on it. You're probably only going to tell me you have $60,000, and that's okay. We just have to make a realistic plan, a roadmap for where to spend that money, how to allocate it, and how to incorporate my fee.
Yeah, no, I love that. I really love that. Yeah, I love how you kind of have all these things laid out, and that way it's kind of crystal clear what the expectations are. You're able to also avoid wasting your time and theirs. If their budget is too low, then you don't have to go and start getting deep with this stuff just to turn around and say, well, it looks like this is not going to work out after all. So really, the fact that you're so upfront about this, you're really doing your clients a favor, right from the beginning, because they know exactly what the expectations are, and they know if you guys are going to be able to make something work pretty early on in that process. So I think that's really smart. Also, you mentioned all these things that you help people solve. Again, entrepreneurs, we are problem solvers at heart. This is what we do. And it goes back to some of those original core concepts, which are you relieve people of stress and the burden of having to do things on their own. And then you save people a lot of time, because time is our most valuable asset, right?
We save people time and money, because a lot of times people want to DIY. And I've been to consultations with people and they just want me to tell them what to do and how to do it. And I see them doing good things because they have experience, but also see them making huge mistakes. And I'm like, if you brought in a designer, even if you just wanted a co-pilot, you're still going to save yourself a lot of money, because we can help you from making those costly mistakes And we can get designer discounts, and we can get things at a special price that you as a DIYer can't get on your own. Like the home improvement stores aren't necessarily saving you money. We know the right contractors, we know the right vendors, we know the right people. And if I might add, prior to the consultation, we offer a free complimentary phone call. So don't ever hesitate to call. I'll spend 20 minutes on the phone with you, and we can assess right there for a good fit. And if you want to move forward to the consultation, that's fine. And then sometimes we just realize on the phone that it's not a good fit, or the budget isn't high enough. So we offer that first. So I say, don't be afraid to pick up the phone. I answer all my calls. I don't have an answering service that, we'll connect you. We'll do this. I've gotten jobs because I'm one of the few people that answer my own phone.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a big deal, especially nowadays when so many things are being outsourced. So I can see why that gives you a competitive edge. Another really important thing, Kerry, that I like to ask every entrepreneur, sometimes for those that are on the outside looking in, they can see that, obviously that some people have found some tremendous success in their endeavors. Sometimes they see people, but they see more so at the end of the journey. And so they interpret that as, you got lucky, or, somehow or another, you had some special privileges. And then usually when I start talking with a business owner, it turns out that that's not the case at all. Usually there's been a lot of adversity. Usually there's been a lot of setbacks, and there's been so many obstacles that business owner or entrepreneur has had to work really hard to overcome. That stuff typically doesn't get broadcast on social media, right? Social media usually just shows the wins. And so in a sense, a lot of that is really kind of a facade, because it's not showing all the blood, sweat, and tears that person had to put into that endeavor, not to mention maybe the things that they went through to even get to that point prior to it. Can you share a little bit of that, Kerry? Just only what you're comfortable, maybe some type of an adversity that you had to overcome, and specifically if you were able to pull some sort of a learning experience from that throughout any part of your journey.
Well, I don't know that I can't say that I've had any major adversity. The biggest challenge being new to the industry, in the entertainment industry, I had lots of connections. I could book work off Facebook, and still a lot of my Facebook are people from my entertainment days. And I still love those people. They're really friendly. There's people that are really competitive in that industry, but you'd be amazed at the support in the local entertainment industry. Still a lot of great people. And, as a producer, I don't know if you know, a lot of people do. Even from the production side to the acting side and everything in between, it's a really nice community. And I built a lot of connections there, and I networked for the better part of 10, 15 years. And like I said, I could book work off Facebook. When I entered the design world, I came in with lots of experience, but it wasn't professional experience. So I was just starting a new company. I didn't have any connections. And that's, again, being an empath and being an entrepreneur, I feel myself to be socially awkward. So I struggle with those situations where I have to go out of my comfort zone and go to networking events. I always feel you have impostor syndrome. You feel like, oh, wow, I don't belong here. And again, in taking this course on entrepreneurship, they tell you that's where you need to be. And when I talk to entrepreneurs, like at the NAH event last week, they were like, you need to be where you don't want to be. It's about going out of your comfort zone. Those are my challenges, going to where I don't have any problem getting up, speaking in a crowd. I'm very confident. I'm especially confident if I have a role to play or I'm selling my product, but just to go to an event, that's not who I am. So that's what I struggle with, is the social aspect and building connections, because the people you need to build connections with are also your competition. So you have to be confident in what you bring to the table that they don't, but collaboration over competition. How can I help you and you can help me without stepping on each other's toes?
Sure. So I think that's definitely a great example of something that you had to overcome. Now, what would you say though, was kind of what you learned from that, or how did you learn to get past that? Was it just kind of saying, hey, I got to get past the imposter syndrome. I just have to basically step forward and have that self-confidence. Is it just compartmentalizing that? You know, what do you do specifically to get past it? Because I struggle with something very similar. I'm not really if I'm at a networking event, I am so out of pocket. And I'm just like, when does this thing end? I'm ready to go home. But I have to really kind of force myself because, well, you know, there's bills that are due and, you know, people depending on me and that sort of thing. And sometimes we got to force ourselves to be out of our comfort zone. So, you know, what are you doing to basically kind of get past that obstacle?
Well, the first thing I do is make friends with a bartender, but I don't drink and drive. So I have to drink a non-alcoholic beverage. I'm probably a lot more fun, and I would probably open up a lot more if I did have a beer. But like I said, I don't drink and drive. So that's what I do. I'm still working on it, but I'm in the position now. We're in a growth mode where we're looking to expand the company and hire more people. So I'm actually interviewing an assistant right after this, and I'm hoping she can accompany me to events. So I'm much more comfortable at events when I'm with another person or a partner. I'm more of a one-on-one person. I don't do large groups well. So maybe I'll see if my assistant wants to be my designated driver too. And then I can loosen up and have a cocktail, but it's still something I struggle with. It's still something I work with. When someone reaches out to me and says, oh, I like your outfit. Oh, I love your boots or something, pay me some sort of compliment. I was like, oh, can you please take a picture of me at this event? Because I don't do selfies well. My nose doubles in size. So, and then if I can establish a rapport with them, I did that with one girl at an event, and she wound up being a great connection, and she does things. So I'm starting to learn how to network within that industry. And I've gotten more confident as I've done more designs and more variations of project and am growing within my company, that I don't have the imposter syndrome as much, because I'm like, well, I'm working with this client now and he's got quite a large budget and we're doing these things. But I don't brag about my projects or put anything up on social media until they're completed.
I see. Yeah, lots of golden nuggets there, Kerry. I love that. Such a cool strategy, and you really bring up some great points for people like yourself and myself. Like, just a few modifications can just change the whole thing, right? Just having that other person there, the whole experience is now different, right? And so we have to be open to making whatever little tweaks are necessary so that we can figure out how to make it work. And then that way it's not such a painful experience for us. So I love that. Thank you very much for sharing that. Now, if you had to start over, if you had to go back to the very beginning, is there anything that you would do different at this point? Or are you still feel like maybe you're still a little too early in your process right now to come to that conclusion yet?
That question requires a lot of thought. See, I'm a double Aries, so I just dive in. I just learn through experience. And in the beginning, the first 2 years of my business, we didn't have a lot of business. I had to teach myself a lot of things. I had to teach myself a lot about business growth. Like this class, again, I'm taking in entrepreneurship, would have been really great information 3.5 years ago when I started my business. It's a startup class.
Yeah.
So, but I've had to teach myself a lot of technology. I've had to learn a lot of apps and a lot of programs. So I might have brought someone in earlier on. I started on a really small budget, but I think you sort of just have to go for it. Like if you wait till everything's right, I haven't had children, but people say, if you wait till you're ready to have kids or you have the right money, you'll never have them. You just got to go for it. So that's kind of and I'm willing to tackle projects based on my experience. But if there's something I haven't done before, I'll share it with the client and I'll say, I'm happy to research it or I'll look into it. And I figure out the solution for that, or I find the right vendor or contractor or person for that. I bring that to the table for my client. And then I add that to my arsenal. That's part of my program. And the people that help me the most, I always try and reciprocate. And promote them as well. I say, back to what we were talking about before, your vibe attracts your tribe. So I feel like you come to the right people and the right people come to you. And I'm very genuine and very transparent. Sure. I'm not superficial. Those aren't my clients.
Well, I'll tell you what, for somebody that requires time to think about things, you give some amazing off the cuff responses. So that was really fantastic. What about this one? This is one of my favorite questions to ask because, again, a very unique response for each person. But what would you say is maybe a really good piece of advice that you've received at some point in your journey? at any point in your journey, whether business related or not, that's really stuck with you?
Well, early on, again, I'm a type of person that doesn't like to ask for help, and not many people are volunteering help. But one lady reached out and, and I was like, how much do you charge for coaching? Because I think a good piece of advice would be, if you can afford a business coach, go there and be willing to do the work. So I reached out to this lady, and we just did a couple phone calls, and she gave me advice for free. And she told me, SEO, work on your SEO, which is, Google. And I'm not a big fan of Google, but you have to have it. And I try and post a picture on Google every day, find something, even if it's just me. I have a lot of old pictures from my modeling days, headshots and stuff. So even if I put up something like that, my face is my brand. I try and put up pictures of my work. And most of my customers right now are getting me from the internet, and I'm just starting to work on referrals, and 5-star reviews are everything. When I'm done with a client, I always send them a feedback sheet, and I say, if and a lot of them don't want to fill it out because I feel like it's awkward, but I'm like, really, please, and I have certain questions. If there's something that you would rather I do differently, would you please put it on this feedback sheet and not in the review? Or if you don't feel comfortable leaving me a 5-star review, please fill out the feedback sheet. But anything less than a 5-star review doesn't really help me. And all of my clients so far have given me 5-star reviews. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. And if there's an issue, that gives you the opportunity to try to resolve it before they're going to go and jump online and say something disparaging about you. So,
well, I don't think they would, or I wouldn't ask them for that. I try and make my goal now is you don't want to get really, you draw the fine line between getting really involved and friendly with your clients. Like I have clients that I'll go to lunch with once in a while that I've worked with. And then you sort of have to maintain that professional distance. Like you don't discuss politics, or you don't get, their marriage might be falling apart. I don't get too involved in that. I just say, how are you doing? How are the dogs and cats? How are they dealing with it? Right, and let's move on to design. So you have to walk that fine line. But my goal now is to make friends with my clients so I can stay in touch with them, because somebody was pointing out at this conference again last week where we did the staging and the entrepreneurs were talking, is to build your CRM. Sure. That's what I did in my psychic arts business. My clients come back to me for readings for almost 20 years, or their referrals. So I learned early on, build your client base, stay in touch with your clients. Even if they don't want design, or they spend a lot of money on their last project and they can't afford to move on to the next one, they can still refer you to a friend or a neighbor. That's all what I've learned in all my entrepreneurial journeys. Keep really good tabs of your customer database. Get an email list together. They can always unsubscribe. Send digital Christmas cards, try and remember their birthdays just to pop. It's a good excuse to pop in and say hi. Build your clientele base.
Very, very, very important. Very important. We're getting pretty close to wrapping up. I've just got a couple of final questions here for you, Kerry. Loved everything that you've shared so far. I'm always curious to know, just given all of your experience and all of your success, what challenges are you still maybe working to overcome in your business at this point, right here today at the time of this recording?
Exactly today. Like I said, after I'm going to interview an assistant because I'm trying to do too much on my own. And so I'll just put this out there for anybody who's watching. I'm also looking for someone who's a social media strategist. There's the option of hiring an AI person or a person to do social media. I've had other people offer to do my SEO and my social media, but they were really expensive. And I do pretty good on my own. I've taught myself how to do my own SEO. And so far it's working out pretty good. It could be better. I don't feel like I'm utilizing social media to my advantage. I'm not getting clients from there. So I'm really looking for a social media strategist. This assistant, that doesn't appear to be her skill set yet, but she's willing to learn. We've spoken on the phone, and she also brings other things to the table. Today, she's assisting me at the design center because I have to pick up artwork for a client. So I just need that extra set of hands. And that's my challenge, is learning to trust others, delegate, bring people in and delegate. Like I said, I managed to get a really good crew of people together when I need to assemble something or do installs, and they have been invaluable to me. So my challenge that I'm working on is growing my team and expanding my business, because you can't grow and do it all by yourself.
That's right. Do what you do best and delegate the rest if at all possible, right?
Oh, I love it.
Kerry, when you're not working, this is going to be my last question. When you're not working, your mind, maybe you can never turn it off. I know some of us, we're just incapable of turning it off completely. But if you were to try and step away from your work and step away from your business, what does that look like? What does your downtime look like? What do you enjoy doing to just kind of unwind and relax? And who would you typically spend that with?
Well, with my husband. We were a good balance for each other. We enjoy our home. I'm into homes. I've decorated my home. My home is my sanctuary. I don't entertain a lot. I'm very careful about who I invite into my home as an empath. We just have our own, we have our pool. We have a nice backyard. Sunday fun day. I don't work Sundays. That's my mental health day. We spend it together, usually drinking beer by the pool.
Very nice.
That's what my day off looks like.
I love it.
And then we might go out to a nice dinner, or we live in a neighborhood with 5-star restaurants that we can walk to. So we might walk down and enjoy a cocktail, some really good food, and just enjoy our personal space.
That's amazing. I love the simple stuff like that myself.
Yep.
And it's really rejuvenating to be able to do those simple things like that and recharge and then come back ready to attack again on Monday, you know?
Yep.
So as entrepreneurs, we typically look forward to Mondays. So hopefully you do. And hopefully if you get more help and more assistance with these things, you can enjoy it even more as you're able to kind of free up some of your time and your energy and your space to do the things that you're best at. It's obvious you have a lot of passion in what you do, Kerry. So thank you so much for everything that you shared today. I think that you definitely have a very, very bright future in what you're doing, and can't thank you enough for all the little golden nuggets you shared with us today.
Well, thank you for having me on and letting me share.
Absolutely. Well, that does it for another episode of the Business Networking Influencers Podcast. And thank you again to Miss Kerry Fezza, the Director of Design at Kerry F Decor. One last and final thing, Kerry, how can they reach you if they have any questions, if anybody's listening or watching and they'd like to learn more about you?
Well, we're at Kerry F Decor. So all social media is at Kerry F Decor. You can email me at kerryfdecor@gmail.com. And my phone number is 702-882-4518. And you can pretty much just Google me and find me online.
I love it. Thanks again, Kerry.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Networking Influencers Podcast. We hope you gained valuable insights and strategies to elevate your business and networking game. Don't forget to subscribe for more episodes filled with expert advice and inspiration. Until next time, keep connecting, keep growing, and keep influencing.